The last official update of Madden 22 is finally here. EA came through a little bit later than expected with the final update for Madden 22 as we start gearing up for Madden 23. Now, as many of you know, every month we get an update, sometimes two, regarding gameplay, franchise mode, and more. And over the last few months, we had been waiting for these remaining two franchise mode updates that it looked like just simply weren't going to come. Early last month, we finally got one of those updates, and now late into this month, we finally get the third and final franchise update, along with some gameplay updates and some bug fixes as well. Now, as we head into Madden 23, if you want to stay up to date on all of the latest news that's going to be dropping any day now for the next few months, make sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon on so you don't miss those important videos when they go live. We're trying to hit 500K before Madden 23 comes out, and if everybody watching just subscribed, we would probably hit that number today. So let's get into this last and final update of Madden 22. It's been a rocky year, much like last year. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of things to be fixed. The franchise updates finally came through, even if they're a little bit smaller than expected, and probably, in my opinion, too late into the year. I don't know how many people are still even playing the game or even care about the franchise updates at this point, but they're in the game, so I guess technically, you know, they didn't lie, but, you know, it's a little bit late. So first, we're going to start with the gameplay stuff because that's what's highlighted here on the website. It says that there's some general stability fixes, which is basically something that happens in every update, not a big deal. We're not even really sure what it means. They also fixed an issue with the play art taking too long to update after flipping a play. So especially if you're an online player, flipping your play is kind of a common thing. I don't know how much offline players do it. I'm sure, you know, people that play franchise flip their plays occasionally, but I know it's a thing that's done, you know, more often online, sometimes on an every play basis, depending on who you play. And the play art usually seems a little bit delayed when you flip your play. So it sounds like they have finally fixed that issue. Here's another big one. They fixed the red route wide receiver screen issue that was causing coverage defenders to crash and attack the QB as soon as he left the pocket. The issue was caused by logic that would have defenders break to defend a scrambling QB during a wide receiver screen play call. Now the defense will react appropriately and stay back in coverage when a smoke screen hot route is used on any passing play. So if you didn't know what this was, let me break it down to you. If you're an online player, I'm sure you've definitely seen this a lot. If you called different types of screen plays, or I think even in regular plays, you could just put somebody on a smoke screen, and when he's the primary receiver on the play, when he has the red route, the defense will kind of crash down and just break to the smoke screen or the screen assignment when you're scrambling out with your quarterback, and it would just leave the sidelines wide open. Now, I saw somebody on Twitter after this update, and they were using a halfback screen play, and the glitch was still working. So kind of in typical EA fashion, they may have fixed part of this glitch in a certain way that you could do it, but there's still some other sneaky ways that you can manipulate this and it still works. So kind of typical, they fixed a part of it, but they failed to kind of get the other part of it that maybe wasn't as widespread. But I feel like with Madden, when you roll out with the QB, defenders crash down a lot anyway, just against crossing routes and stuff like that. I think it's a bigger issue in the game. This may have been a specific way to kind of make it a little more aggressive, but you know, the defense and zone has always kind of crashed to the rolling QB for as long as I can remember at this point. So I think it's a whole thing they need to look at in the future of just making the coverage better and making them respect where they're supposed to be on the field. Now let's get into these franchise mode updates, and there's been a couple of fixes as well. I know the franchise community has been waiting. If you're still playing the game, you're happy to see that there is something new coming for franchise mode. So first up here, they fixed a draft issue where users were unable to select a player on their turn for both solo and multiplayer franchise leagues. This is something I've definitely seen complained about for a while now. I don't know why this took so long to fix, and again, it's so late in the year. You know, stuff like this should have been handled, in my opinion, much earlier. They also did some scouting tuning. Now, we know they put the new scouting system earlier in the year. Some people like it, but I've seen a lot of people that really didn't like how this turned out. Certain parts of it don't work, I guess, maybe as intended, which, you know, kind of typical EA, but it's a lot of work, the new scouting system, but doesn't always really give you as much information as you need. And it sounds like they've done a little tuning to maybe make that better here. It says the general scouting portion of scouting now provides a 10% unlock of information for prospects. They also increased the tier bonus for scouts. Tier 1 scouts go from 2% to 5%, tier 2 scouts go from 5% to 15%, and tier 3 scouts go from 10% to 25%. So it just sounds like they're trying to kind of speed up this process in terms of unlocking information, because a lot of times from what I was hearing, you'd go through all the scouting all year and then it's kind of draft time, and a lot of the players you've scouted, you just don't really know nearly enough about them. And a lot of times, even when you do know a good bit about them, it winds up being things that aren't that relevant to their player. Like for a wide receiver, you know, you would wind up knowing like his throw power or something weird like that, or his tackling, or just his awareness, but you wouldn't know enough about his route running or his catching sometimes, which really just defeats the purpose. So maybe this will help kind of unlock some of that stuff. Let me know below if you've messed with it. You know, does it seem a little bit better? They've also made some scenario updates to the season engine. So kind of interesting here, kind of similar to what they did in the last update. They made some scenario updates. I was of the idea that they were going to do more with the coaching staffs in this update, but it seems like it's very similar to the last franchise updates where they're just putting some new scenarios out there. They did kind of tweak the scouting system a little bit, but overall, not exactly, I think, what people were expecting. But here are the new scenarios that are coming. They have X Factor Hot Streak, which says the X Factor Hot Streak scenario occurs when facing an X Factor defender coming off a big game in the previous week. Depending on the position of the player, you will be tasked with slowing him down in a different statistical categories and extinguishing the fire. To make matters more challenging, when the scenario occurs, the player will start the game with their X Factor activating, meaning you'll need to direct attention to them immediately or risk them wrecking your game early. But if you manage to keep them in check, you'll be able to earn rewards that can be anything from XP to temporary boosts as well as staff points. Team Turmoil. The Team Turmoil scenario emulates growing frustrations between thriving offense and struggling defense. If you find yourself on a losing streak with one of the league's best offenses while also fielding one of the league's lowest ranking defenses, you may find yourself at a crossroads and having to answer questions about a divide in the locker room. This will provide your defense with the opportunity to step up and quell some of the frustrations in the locker room. But beware, as another poor performance from the defense could send the whole team spiraling and looking for answers. That one sounds a little interesting. That sounds like something that could easily happen in real life. I think the scenario engine and all this stuff has always been a good idea. I just think they need to make it a little better. They need to make it a little more immersive and make it a little more realistic. Some of them are just not really that great, but something like that sounds a little bit better. Sounds like something that would actually happen in real life. Unstoppable Force. How do you stop the vaunted unstoppable force? That's what you'll be tasked with tackling when facing one of the league's best offenses coming off a strong performance in their previous game. Formulate a game plan around creating constant pressure, stuffing the run, or creating turnovers, and take that challenge into your game that week for the opportunity to provide your defense with a momentum boost moving forward. Weak Link. The weak link scenario fires when your team has made the playoffs despite fielding one of the league's worst defensive units. The media will question not only your ability to make a deep playoff run, but also your ability to even win a playoff game. Similar to the Unstoppable Force scenario, you'll be tasked with how you need your defense to step up that week, and based on the results of the game and their success, you have the opportunity to build momentum to help make a Super Bowl run. Bye week. We've updated our bye week scenario from text messages to modular cinematics with all new choices and impacts. During your bye week, you'll be asked how your team is handling the week off. You'll be posed with choices of taking a team bonding retreat to build team chemistry, self-scouting to identify weaknesses to correct coming out of the bye, or continuing to grind through the week to help with the development of your players. Each choice comes with different positive and negative effects, and as a coach, it's on you to decide what your team needs and put them in the best position to succeed in the stretch run of the season. Now that one's a little interesting as well, because of course taking it from text messages to cinematics, I think just automatically upgrades it a little bit. But this is interesting when you look at the fact that they added that new kind of fatigue and injury management system this year, which I think is one of the few things that they really got right, where you have to manage, you know, how much you're pushing your players, because you can push them a little bit harder, which can give them some XP to unlock, you know, different things, get their ratings up, but you can also increase their injury risk, or, you know, how much stamina they kind of have going into that game, because maybe they're just getting tired, it's later in the season. So you're kind of faced with more of those decisions where you have to figure out, you know, do you want to try to upgrade these players, or do you want to kind of just let them rest because you want to keep them fresh for the stretch run of the season. They also added goal updates for the coaching staff, so I guess they did add a little sprinkle of something here for the coaching staff. They're all up on the screen, just different goals and things you have to do with your, you know, head coach or coordinators and stuff like that, where you can, I guess, you know, unlock some more stuff that way. So they threw a little sprinkle on that there, but nothing too crazy. That's the last update of the year. We're pretty much on to Madden 23 after this. If you want to know about all of the Madden 23 details that we know so far, check out this video right here on the screen, and I'll see you next time.